unwilling to accept defeat. Among them were Japanese women, nurses, clerks, and wives of military officers, captured or stranded far from home as Allied forces advanced. Many were indoctrinated to believe that surrender meant unspeakable horror. Japanese propaganda had painted Americans as brutal beasts, spreading stories of atrocities to ensure loyalty till death. Some women carried hidden knives or cyanide, prepared to end their lives before capture. When surrender orders reached these forgotten outposts, the women waited in dread for the arrival of their conquerors and what they expected to be their final moments. The morning was still. The jungle buzzed with life, indifferent to human defeat. A small group of Japanese women, thin, exhausted, and covered in mosquito bites, huddled together outside a wooden shack. Their guards had fled days earlier. The sound of boots and trucks in the distance grew louder. The Americans were coming. Private First Class Robert Wilson, 24 years old, led his unit into the clearing. They had orders to secure the area and tend to any survivors. The men were battle-hardened, many of them haunted by what they had seen in Iwo Jima and Okinawa, battles where mercy was rare and surrender often a trap. When they saw the women, there was a long, uneasy silence. The women knelt instinctively, hands shaking, eyes fixed on the ground. One whispered a prayer. Another clutched a photograph of her mother. They were certain this was the end, but Wilson did something unexpected. He lowered his rifle. "We're not here to hurt you," he said softly. His men followed, lowering their weapons and opening their packs. One soldier placed a can of peaches on the ground and stepped back. Another filled a tin cup with clean water. The women stared in disbelief. Their fear began to crack and replaced by confusion. Slowly, one reached for the can, hands trembling. She tasted the syrup and tears rolled down her face. It was the first kindness she had seen in years. Word spread through the nearby villages and surrender camps. Japanese women captured or rescued were being treated, not as enemies but as human beings. The American medics tended to their wounds. Some soldiers shared chocolate and cigarettes, small gestures that carried immense weight in a shattered world. Many of these women later testified that the Americans never touched them, never violated them, even though they could have. For soldiers who had lost friends to Japanese bullets and bayonets, restraint was not easy. But orders from the top, and sheer exhaustion with the brutality of war, had changed them. One nurse later wrote, "We had prepared to die, but they gave us life. We had been taught hate, but they showed us mercy." In one camp, a group of about 30 Japanese women were liberated by U.S. troops in the Philippines. When the soldiers arrived, the women tried to commit suicide, terrified of what would happen next. The Americans rushed to stop them, shouting, pleading. One young soldier dropped his rifle to pull a blade from a woman's hand. Another ripped off his own uniform shirt to bandage her wounds. For a moment, the world stood still. The myths of propaganda shattered in the dust. The women looked at their supposed enemies and saw compassion where they expected cruelty. It was a moment that transcended victory or defeat. Amid the ashes of a world war, humanity flickered back to life. After Japan's surrender, many of these women were repatriated. Some returned home to ruined cities and broken families. Others stayed behind, working as nurses or translators for Allied forces. In post-war Japan, their stories were whispered, rarely spoken aloud. Admitting that the enemy had shown mercy clashed with the national narrative of pride and sacrifice. But decades later, as historians unearthed diaries and testimonies, the truth emerged. Stories of soldiers who chose compassion over vengeance. It revealed a side of the war often forgotten. The quiet moments where individuals defied hatred and reclaimed their humanity. The encounter between the Japanese women and American soldiers was not just a story of surrender. It was a story of awakening. In the silence after gunfire, both sides learned that mercy can be more powerful than fear. When enemies chose empathy, the war, in a way, truly ended.